Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're joining us today, chances are you've already done the heavy lifting. I mean, you've climbed the Everest of English proficiency, really. You can navigate those treacherous passes of complex verb tenses. You've wrestled phrasal verbs into submission. By any objective standard, you're an advanced C1 English speaker.
Absolutely. You can handle complex situations, debating politics, writing detailed reports, understanding pretty much anything you read or hear.
Right.
But, and this is a big but for many high-level learners we work with, there's often still that nagging feeling, that little whisper of doubt that says, okay, I'm competent, but am I really fluent?
Yeah, that gap.
Exactly. You might construct this perfectly grammatical sentence, flawless, but somehow even to your own ear it sounds...
Well, a bit rigid, a bit clunky.
Or you understood the joke, the really subtle one, but you couldn't quite land one yourself with that same effortless timing. That's it, precisely. That's the gap we're talking about today. It's this chasm between what the official frameworks like the CEFR measure, which is communicative competence, and what feels like true, intuitive, effortless flow. We're calling this the final frontier.
The final frontier, I like that. It's the difference between just getting a thought out there and expressing it authentically, effortlessly, with your own style. Right?
Exactly. And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We want to map out the specific strategies, the mindset shifts you absolutely need, and the techniques to bridge that gap, moving from that C1 mastery to, well, native-like command.
And the real key, the breakthrough, is understanding that this part of the journey, it's fundamentally different from everything that got you here.
Totally different.
It's not about cramming more rules. You know the rules. It's more about bending them, internalizing them, changing your whole relationship with English.
Yeah, it stops being this object of study, like a set of theorems you look up. And it starts becoming the medium for your life, dynamic, spontaneous. So we'll explore how to really refine those foundations, engineer some pretty radical immersion, polish the nuances.
And ultimately, find your unique voice in English. That's the goal.
We're diving deep into how you transform that competence, that technical skill, into something more like, well, artistic expression. The very strategies that got you to C1, you might actually need to let go of some of them now.
Interesting. So the tools change for this final leg.
They have to. It's a different climb.
Okay, let's start right there, where the frustration often kicks in, that psychological barrier of the C1 plateau. Because when you first started learning English, I mean, every month felt like huge progress, right? Simple past, then future continuous.
Wow.
Conditional clauses. The milestones were constant. They kept you going.
Oh, absolutely. The thrill of those rapid beginner gains is addictive. But now you feel stuck.
Yeah.
Progress feels like it's measured in millimeters, not miles. You read 1,000 pages and maybe pick up one or two useful new words.
Yeah.
It's disheartening.
And that slowdown, it leads to real frustration, sometimes stagnation even. People just stop trying new things because, well, the risk of making a mistake feels bigger than the tiny reward.
Precisely. And you look at that C1 certificate, which, let's be clear, is a monumental achievement. It means you can handle complex stuff.
Right.
But you still don't feel fluent. So why? Why is that CEFR rating sometimes so disconnected from the actual feeling of fluency?
That's the key question.
Well, the CEFR, it mainly measures ability, your capacity to function, to get the job done in the language. Can you understand? Can you respond appropriately? Yes. Okay, C1. Fluency, though. That's more like the ghost in the machine. It's the quality of the language, how effortless it is, how natural, how authentic it sounds and feels. You might have the technical manual down pat, but you don't have the muscle memory yet.
Okay, that makes sense. Which brings us to that driving analogy you mentioned. It illustrates this perfectly, doesn't it?
It really does. Think about it. The C1 speaker is like a very conscious driver.
Yeah.
They're doing everything perfectly. Buy the book, check the mirror, check the blind spot, consciously think, okay, now shift gears. Obey every single traffic law. They get from A to B safely, efficiently.
But their focus is entirely on the mechanics, right? The car itself, their cognitive load is super high.
Exactly. They're thinking about how to drive. Now, the fluent speaker...
Their mind's somewhere else entirely.
Right. They're driving on instinct. They might be deep in conversation with a passenger, listening to the radio, planning dinner. The language has become this invisible extension of their mind. It's an unconscious tool.
So for the C1 speaker, language is still kind of an object they're manipulating carefully.
Yes. Whereas for the fluent speaker, it's just the transparent medium they live through. And here's the kicker, the strategies that got you to C1. The conscious grammar drills, the vocab lists.
Yeah.
Ironically, they can actually prevent this final leap because they keep your attention fixed on the mechanics, on the clutch, instead of just driving, instead of the destination.
Wow. Okay, so we need new strategies. If it's not just about speed and accuracy anymore, we need a deeper definition of fluency. You mentioned it's like a multifaceted gem with 5 key facets.
That's right. It helps to break it down because fluency is such a slippery concept. First, and maybe most crucial at this stage, is automaticity.
Automaticity.
This is when producing and understanding language just happens without conscious effort. Low cognitive load.
Yeah.
You stop actively searching for words or conjugating verbs in your head. They just flow.
Like the fluent driver. Got it. What's next?
Second, prosody and natural rhythm. This is huge. It's the music of English,
Yeah.
the stress patterns, the pitch changes, the cadence.
This stuff often ignored in textbooks.
Totally ignored. But it's critical.
Yeah.
You can have a grammatically perfect sentence, but if the rhythm is wrong, it just sounds foreign, unnatural. English is stress timed. Getting that rhythm down is non-negotiable if you want to sound fluent.
Okay, automaticity, number 3.
Idiomaticity and collocations. This is about using words together the way native speakers naturally do. Why do we say heavy rain but strong coffee? It's not logical, it's just how it is.
Or make a mistake, not do a mistake.
Exactly. These word partnerships, these collocations, they're like the invisible scaffolding of the language. If you miss them, your speech might be technically correct, but it feels subtly off all the time.
Right, that clunky feeling again.
Okay.
Number 4. This sounds important.
It is. Pragmatic competence. This is the real sophisticated stuff. It's the art of understanding and using subtext. What's meant, not just what's said.
Reading between the lines, sarcasm, cultural context, politeness.
All of that. Think about that classic example. A British colleague says, "Oh, you must come over for dinner sometime."
Right, and the literal C1 speaker might pull out their calendar.
Exactly. When? How about next Tuesday? But the pragmatically competent speaker recognizes it's often more of a polite gesture, a friendly closing, not necessarily a concrete invitation needing immediate scheduling. Understanding that invisible meaning is vital for really integrating.
Okay, that's a big one. And the final facet.
The 5th one is about developing a personal voice. Moving beyond being just competent, correct, maybe a bit generic.
They're a very good textbook.
Kind of. And becoming able to express your unique personality, your wit, your sarcasm, your empathy, your particular way of seeing the world in English. You need to sound like you.
Which leads straight into the mindset shift needed, doesn't it? From perfectionism to playfulness.
Absolutely. That perfectionism, which was probably your best friend getting through the grammar stages,
Yeah, drove you to get it right.
is now your biggest enemy. Why? Because that fear of making a mistake, it creates this mental filter, a bottleneck. It slows you down, strips your speech of personality, of spontaneity.
So we need a new motto. You called it connection over correction.
That's the creed. You have to be willing, consciously willing, to sacrifice maybe 10% accuracy for 100% flow and personality. So what if you try a new idiom and it lands a bit sideways? Who cares?
Easier said than done, maybe.
Oh, for sure. But you have to start seeing English as a playground, a place to experiment. Even sounds a bit foolish sometimes.
Yeah.
Not a minefield where every step could be a grammatical disaster.
Shifting from that academic analytical view to something more experiential.
Exactly. The huge cognitive leap. And it's exactly what happened with Anya, the Polish programmer we looked at.
Anya. Tell us about her. She sounded like the perfect C1 case on paper, right?
Oh, absolutely. Led international engineering meetings, wrote flawless documentation, aced all her performance reviews, textbook C1 success. But she felt totally constrained. She actually described her English as textbook perfect, but stiff. She told us, in Polish, I'm funny, I'm quick-witted. In English, I felt like a robot. A very correct, very boring robot.
Wow. And that perfectionism was holding her back.
Massively. She admitted she'd sometimes rehearse complex sentences in her head for like 5 minutes before daring to speak up in a high-stakes meeting.
That sounds exhausting. So what was her breakthrough?
It was completely unexpected. Total immersion through, well, high-speed play. She joined an online board game club on Discord. They played fast-paced, improvisational games, social deduction stuff like Codenames or Among Us.
Oh, okay. So high pressure, quick thinking needed.
Intense pressure. You have to shout out accusations, defend yourself instantly, collaborate on the fly. There's simply no time to pre-plan sentences.
So the speed just bypassed her internal editor.
Completely overload the filter. She started making small mistakes, wrong preposition here, missed article there. But here's a crucial part. Nobody stopped the game to correct her grammar.
They were too busy trying to figure out who the imposter was.
Exactly. They were laughing at her clever accusations, even if the sentence wasn't perfect. And she had this epiphany. Nobody is grading me here. They just want to connect to play the game.
Connection over correction in action.
The second she prioritized flow and just being herself, her speech unlocked. She stopped being the efficient Polish programmer and just became Anya, the funny, witty team lead. Her colleagues started interacting with her differently, more personally.
So her crossing the plateau wasn't about learning new syntax.
Not at all. It was purely psychological, giving herself permission to be authentic, to be imperfect.
That's a powerful example. The mindset shift really has to come first. Okay, so with that playful attitude established, let's get tactical. Let's talk about reinforcing the core foundation.
Right. So we've got the mindset shift happening, but we can't just abandon conscious learning altogether. We just need to change its purpose.
Okay, how so?
The new goal isn't just knowing the rules. It's taking those high-level concepts you understand intellectually and making them automatic, moving them from the analytic part of your brain into the instinctual part.
Automating sophistication. Got it. Let's start with grammar. We know the rules, but you're saying we need to move from conscious application to unconscious reflex.
Exactly. The typical C1 speaker knows the rules, but often defaults to the simplest, safest structures. To get that native-like quality, you need more texture, more sophistication.
Like using inversion.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The C1 speaker might say, I have rarely seen such dedication. Perfectly correct. Fine.
But a bit plain.
Bit plain. The fluent speaker, especially in writing or more formal speech, instinctively reaches for the inverted form. Rarely have I seen such dedication.
It just lands differently. More emphasis, more flair.
Exactly. It puts the emphasis right on rarely. You need to actively practice this with different negative adverbs. Seldom do I, little did she realize, nowhere else will you find. It adds immediate elegance.
Okay, inversion. What else? You mentioned cleft sentences.
Yes. These are absolute gold for adding emphasis in spoken English, especially when you can't just bold text. They let you spotlight one specific piece of information.
So instead of just the manager made the decision yesterday.
Right. You can emphasize the who. It was the manager who made the decision yesterday. Or the when. It was yesterday that the manager made the decision.
Okay.
And maybe even more native sounding, emphasizing the action itself. What the manager did was make the decision yesterday. Being able to flip between these shows real flexibility and command.
It shows you're not just stuck with the first structure that comes to mind. What about advanced conditionals and subjunctives? They always feel a bit tricky.
They can be, but they're essential for nuanced expression. Mixed conditionals are key, connecting past hypotheticals to present realities.
Like if I had taken that job back then, I would be living somewhere else now. That kind of thing.
Exactly that. It's complex, linking different time frames, but it's completely routine, influent conversation. And then there's the subjunctive mood.
The one that sounds a bit formal sometimes. I suggest that he be present.
Yes. Instead of the slightly clunkier, I suggest that he is present. Using the subjunctive correctly, it is vital that she act immediately. It just signals a higher level of proficiency, especially in more formal contexts.
Okay, so we need these sophisticated structures. But if the old fill-in-the-blank grammar drills are actually bad for fluency now, how do we automate these? How do we make them reflexes?
Right, good question. We use forced use drills.
Forced use. Sounds intense.
It kind of is. You pick one specific structure, let's say inversion with seldom, and you make a conscious commitment. Today, I will use seldom do I at least 5 times. In conversation, in an email, whatever.
It'll feel unnatural at first, right?
Totally artificial. But that conscious, deliberate repetition is how you build the muscle memory. It's like practicing scales on a piano. You force it until it becomes second nature.
Okay, forced use drills. And you also mentioned sentence remixing.
Yeah, this is brilliant for mental flexibility. Take any single sentence you say or write, the company launched a new product. Okay, now stop. Rewrite that same idea using different structures you know.
So passive. A new product was launched. Inversion. Rarely does this company cleft. It was this company that launched. Participle clause.
Launching a new product. The company.
Yeah.
See? It forces your brain to access all the options you actually possess. Instead of just grabbing the easiest one, you're training variety.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift to vocabulary. This is a big one for C1 learners. The T-Rex problem, you called it.
Yeah. Yes, the T-Rex problem. You have this massive head, huge passive vocabulary. from reading and listening.
Can understand complex articles, lectures.
Exactly. But you have these tiny little arms, your active vocabulary. The words you can actually use spontaneously in conversation are much more limited.
So the mission is to bridge that gap. How?
We need targeted activation. Stop just trying to passively absorb more words.
Yeah.
Instead, deepen your relationship with the words you already sort of know. The word web method is key here.
Word web. Okay,
Right.
how does that work? Let's say I encounter ubiquitous.
Right. Don't just write ubiquitous everywhere. That's useless for activation.
So what do I do?
You build its ecosystem. First, find its strong collocations, what words naturally partner with it. Ubiquitous technology, ubiquitous presence, ubiquitous surveillance. Then, find its synonyms, but critically, understand their nuance. Maybe you find pervasive, but is it the same? Often pervasive has a slightly negative feel, like pervasive smell, while ubiquitous is more neutral. Note that difference.
Ah, nuance is key.
Absolutely. Then it's word forms, ubiquity. And finally, the most important step, write a personalized example sentence that connects ubiquitous to your life, your work, your interests. Make it meaningful to you.
That sounds much more involved than just a definition.
It is a deep dive on one word, but that depth is what leads to activation. And speaking of activation, you need to upgrade your spaced repetition system, SRS, like Anki or Memrise.
How? Ditch the simple word definition cards.
Definitely. Those only train passive recognition. Your new C1 flashcards need to train productive use in context.
Okay, give me an example.
Option 1. Front of the card has a nuanced sentence in your native language that you often wish you could express smoothly in English. The back has maybe 2 or 3 different ways to say it in English, perhaps at different formality levels.
Ah, so I'm practicing choosing the right expression for an idea I already have.
Exactly. Option 2. Front has the target English phrase or collocation, like ubiquitous technology. The back has your own voice recording yourself using it naturally in a sentence, or just that personalized sentence you wrote. You're connecting it to sound and personal meaning.
Got it. And what about those crutch words we all lean on? Good, bad, interesting, big.
Time for the Better Word Journal. Seriously. End of the day, quickly review your emails, messages, even your internal monologue. Did you say, "We had a good meeting"?
Probably, multiple times.
Right. Immediately look up and write down 3 more precise, evocative alternatives. Productive meeting, insightful meeting, conclusive meeting. Do this daily. It proactively retrains your brain to reach for better words first.
That sounds like work, but I can see how it would pay off. Okay, let's move to the area you said is most neglected but crucial. Pronunciation and prosody, the soul of fluency.
Yes, this is the single biggest lever you can pull at C1 to instantly boost your perceived fluency. You can have slightly iffy grammar, but if your rhythm and intonation are spot on, you sound incredibly natural.
And the reverse is true too, right? Perfect grammar, but robotic rhythm.
Sounds completely foreign, robotic, monotonous. Because prosody, the music, is fundamental. And the key thing to grasp is that English is a stress-timed language.
Meaning we don't give equal time to every syllable like in some other languages.
Exactly. We stress the important content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and we swallow, reduce, rush through the little function words to the A for is R. If you pronounce every syllable clearly and equally, it just sounds wrong to a native ear. Exhausting, actually.
Okay, sentence stress is key. What else falls under prosody?
Intonation, the pitch changes. Rising for questions, falling for statements, but also conveying emotion, doubt, certainty, and connected speech. This trips up so many learners.
Because native speakers don't talk like this, with pauses.
Right. We link words together smoothly. Sounds change or disappear at word boundaries. This is where your listening comprehension breaks down if you're expecting dictionary pronunciation.
You mentioned illusion. Sounds disappearing.
Yeah, look, like in common phrases. We don't say next door, we say nostalgia. The T vanishes. We don't say fish and chicks, we say fish and chips. The D in and is gone.
Okay. And assimilation. Sounds changing.
Right. A sound changes to become more like its neighbor. So 10 bikes often sounds like 10 bags. Because the N before the B becomes an M, it's easier to say handbag becomes hembag. If your ear isn't tuned to these changes, you literally won't understand native speech accurately.
Wow. Okay, so how do we train our mouths and ears for all this stress, intonation, connected speech? You mentioned the shadowing method, but a C1 version.
Yes, a more focused analytical version. It's not just repeating, it's a 4-step process.
Okay, step 1.
Choose a short audio clip, 30 to 60 seconds max. Natural, unscripted speech is best a podcast interview, maybe part of a documentary. Get the transcript. Now listen and mark it up. Underline stressed words. Draw arrows for intonation. Up, down. Note where sounds link or disappear. You're basically deconstructing the music.
Becoming a speech analyst. Step 2.
Listen and repeat, line by line. But don't just repeat the words, mimic the pitch, the emotion, the rhythm. Try to sound exactly like the speaker. Record yourself doing this and compare it to the original. Be critical.
Okay, mimicry. Step 3. This sounds like the tricky one.
It is. Real-time shadowing. Play the audio again, and this time speak along with it, like you're their shadow, maybe half a second behind. Don't stop the audio.
Just try to keep up, even if I stumble.
Yes. Force your mouth and brain to match the speaker's pace and rhythm. It's a serious cognitive workout. Many analytical C1 learners find this incredibly hard because they want to get every word right.
Their brain wants to process, then speak, but shadowing forces simultaneous listening and speaking.
Exactly. But you have to push through that discomfort. The goal here isn't perfect word accuracy. It's internalizing the melody. You're training the rhythm first. This focus was the absolute key for Kenji, the Japanese academic we studied.
Ah, Kenji, flawless research papers, right. But presentations?
Presentations were challenging. His written English was impeccable, but his delivery was very monotonous, very stiff. He used a syllable-timed rhythm common in Japanese when speaking English. He described it brilliantly. I had built a wall of words, not a river.
Ouch. And his advisor noticed?
His advisor was blunt, apparently.
Yeah.
Says ideas were groundbreaking, but his delivery was putting the audience to sleep. So Kenji didn't hit the grammar books harder.
What did he do?
He found a dialect coach who usually worked with actors, and they focused only on prosody, sentence, stress, rhythm, intonation. They used things like poetry and limericks to really exaggerate the natural rhythm of English.
Interesting approach. What material did he use for shadowing?
His coach recommended the Planet Money podcast. It's conversational, relatively fast-paced, but also has complex ideas to keep his C1 brain engaged. And here's the key. He shadowed the exact same 10-minute segment every single day for a month.
The same segment. Wow. Intense repetition.
He said he learned to let his tongue be lazy, to allow those reductions and connections to happen naturally instead of over-articulating every single sound.
And the result?
Transformative. His next big presentation, he apparently captivated the audience. The content hadn't changed much, but the music had. He said later, learning the music was like switching from black and white to color.
Fantastic. It really proves that for C1 learners, rhythm isn't just polish. It can be the main bottleneck holding them back from true fluency.
Absolutely. Prosody is not optional for this final stage. Because you've got the foundations getting stronger, the mindset is shifting towards playfulness. Now you need to engineer your environment systematically.
Right. Immersion at C1 isn't just like watching a movie now and then.
No, definitely not. It's not passive consumption anymore. It has to be active participation. And it's about ruthlessly curating your world so that English becomes the default, the path of least resistance.
So starting with the digital world, curating your digital universe.
Exactly. This sounds basic, but it has a profound psychological effect. Switch everything to English.
Everything, like my phone OS laptop, social media.
Everything. Phone, computer, tablet, GPS navigation, your smart speaker at home. Every menu, every notification, every error message, default to English. It normalizes the language for all those tiny everyday interactions. Builds automaticity without you even thinking about it.
Okay, system language switched. What's next? The great social media purge and follow. Sounds dramatic.
Maybe a little. But seriously, be ruthless. Unfollow accounts in your native language unless they serve a truly essential purpose. But more importantly, start following native speaker creators who are deep experts in your specific hobbies and interests.
Not just general learn English accounts.
No. If you love, say, astrophotography, follow actual astrophotographers. Join astrophysicist discussions on Reddit or specific forums. If you're into vintage fashion, follow historians and collectors who post only in English.
So the content is the hook.
Precisely. You get so absorbed in learning about nebula photography techniques or 1940s tailoring details that you forget you're practicing English. You're just learning about your passion. That's when the language absorption skyrockets.
But you can't just passively consume, right? You said engage, don't just lurk.
Crucial difference. The internet is this amazing low-stakes playground for activation. Don't just watch the YouTube tutorial. Write a thoughtful, detailed comment asking a question or offering your perspective.
Or join that specialized Discord server for your hobby and actually talk.
Yes. Contribute to the discussion about the latest developments, ask for advice, share your own experiences. Why is this engagement so vital?
It forces you to produce language.
Exactly. It forces production, but under a different kind of pressure than, say, a formal presentation. You're motivated by the desire to connect, to share information, to ask a genuine question. That desire often overrides the fear of making a small mistake.
Yeah.
It pushes you to use the language actively.
Okay, active engagement online. Let's talk about other forms of consumption. You mentioned active versus passive, and how passive viewing, like Netflix with native language subtitles, can actually hinder progress at this stage.
Yeah, it often acts like a filter. Your brain just focuses on the subtitles. For C1, you need more active methods. The listen, transcribe, compare method is incredibly powerful, though challenging.
Okay, how does that work again?
You take a short audio clip, maybe 1-2 minutes. Natural speech is best, a radiophone in, a conversational interview segment, not a perfectly enunciated audiobook.
Okay.
And you try to transcribe it, word for word, line by line. It will be hard. You'll miss things. You'll hear sounds you can't easily spell. That's the point. Then you find the official transcript if possible, or just listen again very carefully and compare your version, the discrepancies. That's where the magic happens.
That's where I see the connected speech tricks, the reductions.
Exactly. You'll realize, they didn't say I don't know, they said it wrote no, or wow, that whole function word just vanished. It trains your ear to decode English as it's actually spoken by natives, not the clean dictionary version.
It sounds painstaking, but incredibly valuable for listening skills. What else for active consumption?
The say it first technique. This one's kind of fun. Watch a scene in a TV show or movie you know reasonably well.
Yeah.
Pause right after one character delivers a line.
Okay.
Now, try to predict and say the other character's next line out loud before you hit play again.
So I'm trying to anticipate the natural flow of conversation.
Yes, it forces your brain to think ahead, to internalize common conversational patterns, responses, and timing. It trains spontaneity.
I like that one. And reading aloud.
Yes, reading aloud, with feeling. Don't just scan an article silently. Read it out loud. But don't just read the words, inject expression. Use an angry voice for an angry quote, a questioning tone for a question. Act it out a little.
Why does that help?
It connects the visual, written word to the physical act of speaking. It makes you practice prosody, the rhythm and intonation consciously. It bridges the gap between reading and speaking.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, the social dimension. Finding your tribe. You said avoid basic language exchange apps at C1.
Generally, yes. You often spend half your time teaching your native language, and the practice you get might not be challenging enough. You need authentic situations where English is the medium for a shared interest, not the explicit subject.
Which is why hobby-based groups are gold.
Absolutely, the best fluency machines need formal, structured practice and confidence. Toastmasters International, brilliant for public speaking, arguing points clearly.
Want deep, critical discussions.
Online book clubs, especially ones reading challenging stuff, forces you to articulate complex opinions, agree, disagree respectfully.
Need fast-paced, spontaneous chat.
Online gaming, especially team-based games, requires instant communication, coordination, often under pressure. Or for really deep improvisation.
Dungeons, Dragons, or other role-playing games.
The ultimate RPG workout. You're collaboratively telling a story for hours. You have to describe intricate scenes, adopt a character's voice, persuade, deceive, negotiate, all spontaneously. It's incredibly demanding, but phenomenally effective.
And you need a mix, right? Low-stakes practice and high stakes.
Definitely. Low stakes is your gym experimenting in that Discord game, writing in your journal without pressure. High stakes is the performance, that important job interview, presenting to clients, maybe even that intense D&D negotiation. You need both. The gym builds the muscle, the performance tests it under pressure.
This whole immersion engine idea, it really came together for Maria, the Brazilian designer, didn't it?
It really did. Maria's C1 English was, like many, very functional. Perfect for emails, clear and professional calls.
But sterile.
Exactly. Sterile. When she worked with international design teams, she felt socially awkward. She couldn't easily join in the banter, understand the cultural jokes or slang. She felt functional, but not connected.
So she used her passion, mid-century modern design.
Yes, she systematically built her English bubble, changed her phone, laptop, curated her Instagram and Pinterest to follow only English-speaking design gurus, collectors, museums, switched all their podcasts to architectural history and design shows. Full immersion, but still mostly passive.
What pushed her into active mode?
She took a leap. She decided to embrace the challenge of creation. She started a small YouTube channel, in English, called something like My Brazilian Mid-Century.
Wow, that's brave.
Totally. She documented furniture restorations, talked about Brazilian modernist architects, shared her design finds. This forced her to script, to speak, to produce content, not just consume it.
And the interaction, comments, live streams.
That was key. She had to respond spontaneously to comments from viewers all over the world, explain cultural nuances in design, defend her choices, answer questions live. She couldn't rehearse everything.
And that's where her English transformed.
Completely. It became vibrant, witty, full of personality. She later said, I finally found my voice because I had something I was passionate about, something I really wanted to share. I could finally be passionate in English. The need to communicate her passion drove the linguistic development.
From competent consumer to fluent creator. That's the goal. Okay, we're moving into the final stage now. Refinement. This feels like the most subtle part. Mastering those invisible currents, nuanced subtext, cultural assumptions, the stuff that really separates C1 from truly native-like.
It is subtle, but is where the real artistry lies. And the first, maybe biggest cognitive leap here is thinking in English.
Getting rid of the translation step completely.
Exactly. For most C1 speakers, even if it's fast, there's still some level of translation happening, and that's the ultimate bottleneck for speed, automaticity, and accessing nuance. The goal is to generate thoughts directly in English.
How do you even start doing that consciously?
Start small. Use internal monologue, narration. Just silently narrate your simple everyday actions as you do them. Okay, I'm walking to the kitchen now. I'm opening the fridge. I think I'll have the yogurt.
It sounds a bit weird, but I can see how it forces the brain to use English for immediate experience.
It builds new neural pathways. It normalizes English as the language of your immediate thought, bypassing that translation detour. Then you ramp it up with journaling without a net.
Without a net. Yeah. Meaning no dictionaries, no translators, no spell check.
None whatsoever. Write daily. Just stream of consciousness, planning your day, whatever. Here's why it's crucial. If you get stuck on a word say, you can't remember the word lawnmower, you are forbidden from looking it up.
So what do I do?
You have to describe it using the English you already know. You know, that machine, the one I used to cut the grass in the garden, the noisy one with wheels.
Ah, that's brilliant, because looking up lawnmower just reinforces passive recognition.
Right. But describing it forces you to activate and creatively combine the vocabulary and structures you already possess. It builds fluency through circumlocution, which is a vital skill, far more than just memorizing the single correct word.
Okay, journaling without a net. And you have to break up with translation tools completely.
Make the switch. Use an English-to-English dictionary. Learners' dictionaries like Oxford, Cambridge, Merriam-Webster learners are perfect. They define words using simpler English.
So my brain stays in English mode.
Exactly. You start understanding nuance by seeing how a word relates to other English words, not just its equivalent in your native language. It's a critical step for deeper comprehension.
Okay, thinking in English. Next up, mastering pragmatics. Reading the room. This feels like the trickiest part, understanding that invisible meaning.
It often is, because the rules aren't written down anywhere. We know it's a bit chilly in here. Often means please close the window. A C1 speaker might understand the literal meaning perfectly, but miss the implied request, or worse.
Sound blunt or overly direct themselves.
Precisely. Because technical competence without pragmatic awareness can come across that way. So you absolutely must learn to hedge and soften your language.
Hedging, like using phrases to sound less direct.
Yes. Direct statements can often sound aggressive or confrontational in many English-speaking contexts, instead of your idea is wrong, which is blunt.
Even I disagree with your idea can feel strong.
It can. The fluent speaker instinctively hedges. I'm not so sure that's quite the best approach. Or I was wondering if maybe we could consider using softeners like perhaps, maybe, possibly. I wonder if, it seems like. It's crucial for politeness and collaboration.
Especially for requests too, right? I was wondering if you could possibly...
Makes a huge difference compared to a direct command. You also need to get a feel for understatement and sarcasm.
Ah, the British specialties. Understatement like, yeah, running the marathon was a bit tiring.
Exactly. It's a cultural code, a form of social bonding sometimes. Yeah. Sarcasm is even harder. It's all about tone of voice, context, facial expression. You really only absorb this through massive exposure to natural conversation. Maybe sitcoms like The Office, or panel shows like QI, are good training grounds.
And recognizing cultural shorthand, those shared references.
Yeah, like historical or literary allusions. If someone says, well, that meeting was my Waterloo, you need to instantly get that they mean a final crushing defeat, or that's his Achilles heel for a fatal weakness. You pick these up through broad reading and cultural immersion.
Okay, and how do we refine idioms and collocations beyond just memorizing lists?
Lists are mostly useless for active use. Shift to the notice and record method. When you encounter an idiom in context, say, you hear someone say, they really jumped the gun. Don't just write down the idiom and definition.
What should I record?
Record the full context. Who said it?
Mm-mm.
In what situation? Podcast, meeting, movie. What was the speaker's emotion? Then write your understanding of what it meant in that specific situation. The context becomes the memory hook. And crucially, try to use that idiom yourself within, say, 24 hours. Use it or lose it.
Active recall. And collocations, those word partnerships.
Maintain a relentless collocation focus. Pay hyper attention to which words naturally go together. Use online collocation dictionaries like Ozdic. Is it strong coffee or heavy coffee? Heavy rain or strong rain? Is someone deeply concerned or highly concerned? Getting these subtle pairings right is what gives your English that final polish. It sounds natural. And finally, all this refinement leads to developing your authentic voice. How do you sound like you in English?
This involves being able to shift register.
Effortlessly.
Yeah.
Practice this consciously. Take one complex idea, explain your job, your hobby, your political view. Now explain it 3 ways. 1, to a CEO in a formal presentation. 2, to a friend casually in a pub. 3, to a curious 10-year-old child.
Wow. That forces you to access completely different vocabulary and sentence structures for the same core idea.
Exactly. Being able to shift registers seamlessly like that, that's mastery. Then you need to find your humor in English.
Translating my personal sense of humor, that sounds hard. What if I rely on puns or sarcasm or self-deprecation?
You need to figure out how those work in English. Analyze comedians who share your style. Observe native speakers.
Yeah.
And then, the scary part. Try it out. Tell a witty anecdote. Make a self-deprecating comment. Be prepared for it to fall flat sometimes.
Gotta risk sounding foolish again.
You absolutely do. That fear of bombing is the last barrier to true authenticity. You also need to borrow and adapt.
From speakers I admire.
Yeah. Listen critically. Do you love how a certain podcast host uses vivid verbs? Or how a public figure paces their storytelling? Consciously try to incorporate one specific aspect you admire into your own speech. Not copying wholesale, but blending influences. That's how native speakers develop their unique style, too.
It's like building a composite voice. This whole refinement challenge was really front and center for Francois, the French diplomat, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Francois' English was, technically, near perfect, often more grammatically precise than his British colleagues.
But that was the problem. He sounded too perfect.
Exactly, too perfect, too rigid, which, in that British diplomatic context, came across as cold, maybe even a bit arrogant. He felt like he was playing chess, precise, logical moves, while his counterparts were playing poker, using bluffs, understatement, humor, reading the room.
So his technically flawless language was actually a communication barrier.
In a way, yes. His directness, while clear, lacked the necessary pragmatic softening. He might say, quite correctly, that proposal is unworkable for reasons X and Y.
Which,
A bit like a judgment from on high, whereas his British colleague might say something like, gosh, I might be being incredibly dim here, but I was just wondering if we might possibly run into a spot of bother with X and Y if we go down that route.
I might be being incredibly dim here. That's pure pragmatic hedging.
It's a classic. Self-deprecation to soften a potentially difficult point. It invites collaboration. Let's figure this out together. Rather than confrontation, you are wrong. Francois realized he needed to learn these techniques.
So he didn't study more grammar.
No. He studied British panel shows, QI, Would I Lie to You? Basically observing native speakers using wit, sarcasm, and understatement in real time. He even joined a fast-paced, high-pressure pub quiz team.
Thrown into the deep end of pragmatic communication.
Exactly. He started consciously practicing those hedging phrases, making dry, witty observations. He noticed his colleagues visibly relaxing, engaging more openly when he used humor or softened his points.
So he learned that fluency wasn't just accuracy.
He realized true fluency, especially in that context, was about connection. Knowing how and when to use these pragmatic tools, humor, understatement, hedging to build rapport, he stopped trying to be a perfect speaker and started focusing on being an effective, relatable human communicator. So you've done the work, you've crossed the frontier, you're refining your voice. What now? What's the ultimate truth about maintaining this level of fluency?
Well, the first thing is probably letting go of the myth of arrival, right? There's no finish line you cross and suddenly you're done.
Absolutely not. Fluency isn't a static destination you reach. It's a dynamic state you live in. Even native speakers aren't fluent in every single domain. Think about a literature professor trying to understand complex software engineering jargon,
Right.
or vice versa.
We all have areas of non-fluency.
So see language, including English, as this vast, beautiful landscape that you get to explore for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Replace that anxiety of, am I fluent yet, with a lifelong curiosity. What new territory can I explore today?
That curiosity becomes the fuel for lifelong learning. How do we keep that going? Moving from conscious effort to unconscious habit.
Firstly, read voraciously and widely. Keep pushing beyond your comfort zone. If you mostly read contemporary novels, pick up some 19th century classics. If you only read nonfiction in your field, try poetry or history or science completely unrelated to your work.
Why? Just exposure to different styles.
Exposure to different registers, different vocabulary, different sentence structures, different ways of thinking expressed through language. Each new genre reveals new facets of English. Secondly, stay curious about language itself.
Like getting interested in etymology, word origins.
Exactly. Understanding why a word means, what it means, where it came from, its historical journey. It creates much deeper memory hooks than just memorizing a definition. It makes language fascinating in its own right.
And thirdly, you recommend teaching.
Yes. Mentor and teach. Try explaining a complex English grammar point like mixed conditionals or the nuances between similar phrasal verbs to someone who's still learning.
Why does teaching help the teacher?
Because having to articulate why something works, breaking it down simply and clearly, forces you to confront the deepest layers of your own understanding. It solidifies your knowledge in a way that simply using the language passively doesn't.
That makes sense. And the final step seems almost philosophical. Integrate English into your identity.
It's the final psychological shift. Stop seeing English as this foreign language that you study. It's now one of your languages. It's a tool, yes, but it's also something that has shaped your mind, opened up new friendships, created unique memories.
Acknowledging that some parts of your life, some relationships, some ideas might now exist primarily or even exclusively in English.
Precisely. Maybe that international book club bond only exists in English. Maybe certain professional concepts are only truly clear to you in English terms now. Embrace that. This integration is the final liberation.
Because when it's part of the fabric of your life,
Then maintenance stops being an issue.
Yeah.
You don't consciously practice English any more than you consciously practice walking down the street. You just live your life, and English is an integral part of how you do that.
Okay, so let's try to recap the big shifts we've covered for everyone listening. It started with that crucial mindset change, moving from perfectionism to playful experimentation, connection over correction.
Absolutely key. Then the tactical work, automating the core foundations, really mastering True, the music of English, and getting those advanced grammatical structures like inversion and clefs into your muscle memory.
Then actively engineering your immersion engine, curating your digital world, engaging constantly, using techniques like transcription and shadowing, and finding your tribe in hobby groups or RPGs.
Right. Followed by the art of refinement, learning to think directly in English, mastering pragmatics, the hedging, the understatement, reading the room, and finding ways to express your authentic voice, your humor.
And the case studies Anya, Kenji, Maria, Francois, they all seem to share a common thread, didn't they?
They really did. That final push across the C1 Plateau, for all of them, required real courage.
The courage to be imperfect, like Anya in her game.
The courage to create something public, like Maria with her YouTube channel.
The courage to focus on something unexpected, like rhythm, like Kenji. Or the courage to risk sounding foolish while learning humor and connection, like Francois.
Exactly. It boils down to the courage to connect, imperfectly at first, rather than waiting for perfection. The final frontier, in many ways, is an internal journey.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with today, something to really mull over. You, the C1 Plus speaker listening right now, you are no longer just a learner desperately trying to catch up.
Wow.
You are a bridge between worlds. Your multilingualism, your ability to navigate these complex linguistic landscapes, that's your superpower. So allow English to become truly one of the languages of your heart, not just a tool in your head. Go out there and live your life in English with every bit of the unique personality you possess.